What do you guys have to fix after this weekend?
Well, I thought Washington, for our first conference game, especially being on the road, I liked what we saw. We turned it over too much, and that was the negative in the Washington game. But the effort and the energy was really good. The most disappointing part about the trip is I thought that really dropped at Washington State for whatever reason. And that one's a hard one for us to figure out as coaches, because this group has really played with passion and an awful lot of effort, and I didn't think we got that in Pullman. And that really affected then how we played. And so, we get back home, we've had to start on the road, we get back home, and obviously, maybe arguably one of the better teams, not the best team in our league, coming in here, we've got to get that energy and that enthusiasm back in how we play. And I don't think that's going to be an issue, because these guys have really responded, and for the most part we've gotten that, but I didn't think we got that in Pullman.
Do you have to do anything to spark that during the week?
Well, I hope not. I mean, we gave him yesterday off. It was a 5-day trip, long, cold, a lot of travel involved. So, it's late nights. We had two really, really late nights because of travel. So hopefully they got rest and a little bit re-energized, and it's our conference home opener. And, we're celebrating a legend in Westbrook, and so there's going to be a lot of excitement into this game. So I don't think so. We're going to maybe do some little things in practice and that kind of, but you get into this now, you're about 60 practices in, so yeah, we as coaches got to get a little bit creative on that, but I hope because of the way we played in Pullman is going to be enough that they understand, we're not going to beat anybody playing that way, and hopefully it's a good lesson learned, and we'll respond on Thursday.
Was there fatigue going into that one after the double overtime?
That's hard to say. I'm sure. I'm sure a little bit, but we've got to handle that. I'm going to talk to the guys about that today, and that, last night was as good a college basketball game as I watched. I took a little break and watched Oklahoma, Kansas, and that was a phenomenal game, and it was triple overtime. And Oklahoma, who's probably the second-ranked team, very nearly the number one ranked team in the country, I think got 5 points from their bench. So, they're playing a lot of minutes. Well, that same team played on Saturday. So, they've had to respond in less than 48 hours. So, our guys have got to learn to do that. So if fatigue was a part of it, that's a part of the toughness that we've got to work on and get better at.
Any plans to switch up lineups or rotations after
we'll look at it. I don't think so, but we'll look. We got 2 days of practice here to see how those things go. And, we'll see how guys respond, and the next 2 days in practice will determine kind of not just the starting rotation, but how we rotate through the bench. The next 2 days will have a lot to do with that.
In the Kentucky game here at Pauley, your team avoided, getting too hyped up for the game. They played really composed. How do you kind of instill that same mentality going toward?
Well, coming off Pullman, I want to get them extra hyped up because we just didn't, for whatever reason, we didn't have that. And that's the most frustrating part, because our teams have always played with the incredible excitement and joy to knowing that they get to play the game. And that, we can deal with the other things. If we've got mistakes offensively, we got mistakes defensively, that's all part of the game. You got to work to fix. But that passion, that's got to be there all the time. So I look for them to respond today, and I look for them to respond on Thursday that way. But that's part of college basketball. You've got to be able to control your emotions, not get too high, not get too low. And so that's what we've really concentrated on to date, is that we're not happy with that trip. We missed on 2 really good opportunities, and I don't think we grew. And we've talked about growth all year long, and that's going to be the message today, and it was a message after the game. We did not grow in the last 2 games, and that's what I'm most frustrated. I'm frustrated with coaches. I'm frustrated with players that we did not grow in that weekend. And we've always talked about let's get better every week, and we didn't do that. So we've got to get better this week, and then we got to hope it's enough, because we're playing 2 really good teams this week in Arizona and Arizona State. So we've got to be really good.
When you say you're looking at rotations, lineups, is that any differently from any other week?
No, it's what we do every week. How guys practice and how guys have played before and their roles. I don't anticipate roles, changing that much. We've kind of gotten set into what our roles are, and the only time roles change is if production really consistently drops off, or there's a production that consistently goes up, and then all of a sudden roles can change, and that really hadn't happened to us yet.
How is Gigi looking?
I'm waiting to get any word. I've not got any word today on. I know he did not go on our trip. He stayed back and really worked on conditioning and worked on a lot of different things. So I'm waiting to get word from medical staff of just what his status is for the week.
Is there any chance that he won't come back? You would redshirt him this year?
That's something that we would talk about with him. If he's redshirting, to me is always about the individual, of whether the individual wants to do that or not. Gigi has not talked about. Gigi's been working extremely hard, and we need him. We need the experience. We need the length up front. He would definitely help us defensively, which we're not very good right now. Defensively, that's where we've really got to show the most growth, and he would help us in that. And I think you saw him kind of figure things out late in the year last year, and he had a great summer. So the injury was unfortunate to him, but that's always something. If he feels like that's best for him, as a coach, I always listen to that. But it's definitely a player's decision.
Is there any extra in games against Arizona, just given how they've been in the conference in the past few years?
Well, I don't know if we need any extra, Zach, just because of the way we played this past weekend. And there's some, there are a lot of good teams that have struggled out of the gate, and I hope that we're one of those. I feel like we're a pretty good team that struggled out of the gate, and we dropped two road losses. Now we come home. I hope that's enough that the guys know they're going to know the importance of this. It's, maybe taking a little bit of that pressure off of them. We've still got some guys that are inexperienced in that. I just want to get back to playing, being free, and how they play. I felt like, especially in the Pullman game, we were very tight for some reason, and we don't want to play that way. I want guys to be able to play free and do the things that they know how to do.
Having started 0-2 last year in conference play, is there something you learned maybe a year ago?
Well, we're trying. I've been looking deep. I've been looking deep into that, and we can't figure it out because for 2 years now we've come off break and we have not played well, and that's frustrating. And I'm not going to take Christmas break away from them. I think the break came at a good time. The guys needed, and I can't really give it less than 3 days, because 2 days for Tony to go to the East Coast, Prince to go to the East Coast, guys to leave, they don't get to spend any time with the family. So it's pretty much a 3-day break. And unfortunately, I don't understand it, because we practiced really well. We came back and had, really good days of practice, and I thought we had good energy at Washington, but that really dropped off at Washington State. So we keep searching and looking, and we've played a very demanding schedule, and I've probably had to play a lot of too many minutes to too many guys. We just haven't had any games where we broke away and been able to rest some of those guys. So, look at scheduling a little bit. Look at that as well, maybe sprinkling some other games in there at the right time. But there's an art to that too, because teams can only play at certain times, and because of our exam schedules and everything else, there's a lot of things that go into it. But we're trying to search that. It's not easy. Obviously, in a league like this, to start on the road, it's not easy. And we knew this trip wasn't going to be easy, but I thought we let a real good opportunity go on opening night, and then that, for whatever reason, really affected us in the next game.
Are teams in conference guarding Bryce any differently? The last year, his first 2 games were similar shooting performance to this year. Are they guarding him any differently once he gets in conference play?
He's drawing, I think, most times the best defender. Last year, that probably rotated a lot between him and Norman. And this year, I think he's getting that best defender. I think what helps is what you're seeing Isaac do. Isaac's playing very well, and he's doing it consistently. And, Bryce, we need the scoring, but in this year's team, I think we're going to continue to need his scoring. But just controlling the offense and doing what we need for him is controlling the ball and making sure we get the right shots. And then starting and controlling. He and Aaron kind of start and control our defense, because a lot of times we have Aaron on our point guard as well. So he and Aaron really have to establish what we do defensively as well. So it's not just the offensive end, it's the defensive end that we need more concentration on. And we know he's under a gun. We know we're asking him to do a lot. Run the club, lead the club. He's rebounding the ball well. He's, the shots that he gets that are good, he's making. I think the shots that he's really trying to focus and work on are the tighter shots, the inside the three-point line, are the things that he's really trying to work on, and I think he'll do that.
How do you get more production from the bench?
Well, I've talked about that, and people make a big deal out of it, but it's like Oklahoma. If you watched them last night, they're a pretty good team. They got 5 points in a triple overtime game. So it's not, and I said this all last year, it's not all about point production from the bench.
What about minutes?
Well, the minutes are, Jonah's Jonah's averaged in the last 5-6 games, I think, 25, 24, 25 plus minutes. So, his minutes are up. Prince is all going to be about production. When he's got production, I think that's 16 to 20, and that's what he'd been playing. That's dropped a little bit because he's come off of an injury, and that's affected him. We see what that is, but we're like a lot of teams. That starting five, they're going to be the minutes this year, and then as production changes, those roles can change from the bench standpoint.